Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Saturday morning, guys. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Saturday morning, guys. So I just want to chat about a few things. So on last night, I posted a post on the community page in regards to make sure you're guarding your eyes and your ears. Certain things that the enemy is starting to have you to go back and look at. It's almost like he's tempting you to go back and look at certain things, to snoop in certain areas. And these areas are the very areas that God had been clear and told you he wanted you to stay away from. God had been clear about staying away from it because he already knew that the enemy would use these things to trick you. Well, remember, as I said in the community post, many times when you're waiting on certain manifestations, right? God have made you a promise. God have given you a vision. Most things in the physical, in the natural realm, will not look like the promise. In fact, it looks like the complete opposite. I just think about certain times, excuse me, within my life, within my profession, things like that. So there are certain times and certain things that every single thing in the natural realm said no. I mean, it didn't make any logical sense. There was nothing I could see. There was nothing I could write. There was nothing I could read. There was nothing that would make what God promised look like it could even work. This is when you have to stay in your faith. You can't worry about what you see in the physical around you. You can't worry about this doesn't look like this and this is you just can't. You got to stay locked on. What did God say to you? Regardless of who are in your ear saying certain things, there's a certain situation that's popping up in my mind now. I spoke about this before, but I'll speak about it again because I know a lot of new people are here. When there was something that God required me to do, and I mean, I had lawyers. I had lawyers who told me it is absolutely impossible, right? It's a great idea, but there is no way from a legal standpoint that this can ever work. In fact, if you go to any other lawyer, they will tell you the same thing. So you might as well just don't waste your time. And again, I'm just one of these people that I know what I know. I know when I've heard from God, there's something in my spirit that just won't let me shake it. And I could easily say, well, you know what? These people are lawyers. Obviously, they know. They're lawyers. I'm not a lawyer, right? I could easily say that. And then what would have happened? I would have just went home and just took what they say. But I know what God has said to me. When God places something in your spirit, it just doesn't leave you. That's not to say you won't have certain seasons or certain, not even seasons, but just certain moments, I should say, where you won't start to, it's not so much doubt, it's just that wavering back and forth. Like you might question it for a second and boom, your convicted is right back in your spirit and you remember what God says. God may convict you and tell you, hey, get back in that word, go look back at that vision board, etc., etc. So you might have a moment, but it doesn't stick. God won't allow that moment to stick. It just keeps revisiting your spirit. In fact, you yourself want to shake it because it's so annoying. It's like gnats. So it's just like, leave me alone. But God will not allow that thing to leave you alone. He knows what you will be up against once he give you a word. Right? So because I just kept going back to what God said, and again, God just wouldn't let me shake that feeling. And also because I know that with certain blessings, you're going to have to fight. It's just not going to come easy. You got to go up against so many things, but you got to stay locked in on the spiritual realm. What did God say? God said it, it is. So I kept pressing forward, but most importantly, I had to shut everything down so I can get in a posture where I can hear from God. Again, sometimes we want to hear from God, but we're not creating that environment in that space. Or maybe like me, sometimes you ask God something and you're answering God. You ask God the question at 4:01 p.m. and 4:03, you're already doing what you think you should be doing or what you thought God said, right? You're not even sitting and waiting for the answer. So you ask God and boom, your flesh is back doing something. Well, if God is trying to answer you, you're not even going to hear him because you're already back doing whatever in your flesh. Or many times again, God would just chill in the cut. Like, all right, you asked me, but here your hands are moving, so you do what you do, boo, right? I'm in the cut. Haul at me whenever you're ready. When you're really ready to sit to hear what I have to say. So creating that space, creating that environment, creating that time, that discipline of fasting, that discipline of shutting down all your distraction, that discipline of whatever's pulling from your spirit, the discipline of saying no to my people pleasers, saying no, I can't do, like I had so many people called me or text me on yesterday and called asking me to do just like random things, not even anything like bad or good. It's just that I'm not in that place right now, right? I'm still dealing with, emotions and things like that from earlier this year. I'm still having to really press in because there are things that God asked or required me to do since last year, and I kind of been slow walking it because we're human, right? And so now he's pressing upon me to start getting my hand back in certain things that he asked me to do sometime within last year. So there's so many things that I have going on. So I have to say no, right? I have to say no because I have to be intentional about reserving my energy so I can hear what God is saying to me. If I'm trying to solve your problem, if I'm trying to do whatever you're asking me to do, if I gotta go pick your 35 children up from the daycare because you done had a hangover, right? Just saying, right? All these different things that's pulling you left to right, left to right, left to right. And some of these things are things that you want to do because you're just a server. But when it comes down to making intentional space so you can hear from God, you have to have firm boundaries. And people are not going to like it. Like I had someone text me yesterday, right? People who know me know I don't like speaking on the phone. I have to sometimes, a lot of the times, but I don't really like it, right? I have to be intentional about it. But this wasn't anything that... So anyway, somebody texted me and said, hey, I know you don't, quote unquote, I know you don't like talking on the phone, but answer your phone in 2 minutes, I'm going to call you. Right? Okay, cool, right? Now, if I wasn't in a posture that I know that I'm in a space where I have to keep my everything so clear so I can hear from God, I would have answered the phone, right? And in fact, I was about to answer the phone and then I got convicted. How are you where are your boundaries? If I told you I need you to be in a posture right now that is just quiet and peaceful where people aren't pulling at you, why are you about to answer your phone? See, that's that people pleaser seed. Now you're thinking like, well, if I don't answer, they're going to be upset. If I don't answer, they're going to feel like I'm abandoning them, right? But then what you don't realize is that why are you sacrificing something for people when they won't sacrifice it for you? So if I say that today is not a good day for me to answer, I got some things going on, can you text me? Well, if the person is not willing to sacrifice in text because they don't like texting, right? They'd rather talk on the phone. Okay, so they're not willing to text and sacrifice with their stuff is. Why are you about to sacrifice to accommodate them? Right? People will try to inconvenience you all the time. So I'm like, Lord, you're right. Because if it's really that important, text me. But again, if I wasn't in a posture to hear from God, honestly, I would have answered because that's just something that I have to intentionally do sometimes. So the point of me saying all that was just my scenario on yesterday, but it may be something else for you. Who's calling you to go somewhere when you know you're trying to hear from God, right? Who's inviting you to dinner even though God called you on the fast this weekend, right? What is it that you're going to have to sacrifice something in order to create this space because you need to hear clearly from God? Next thing, some of you are going to realize that the enemy is going to start playing with your mind in the sense of the very place that God told you to go. The enemy is going to start trying to make you feel like it's time to leave that place. because maybe that thing is not happening that fast. Maybe God promised you a ministry and it's not taking off. You've been there for a year, it's not taking off. Maybe God told you to go here because you are to start a business here and it ain't nothing happening, right? Or God told you to relocate here because he know that eventually you would run into your wife in this particular place, and you've been there for 9 months, you've left, and it's just like, Lord, where's she at? Where's she at? Right? Because I meet 30 chicks a day and ain't none of them like. Be very, very careful. Or even certain people, right? It may be a thing that the enemy is pressing upon you. A place that he's pressing upon you to leave. It may be a person as well. This is why creating that space to hear from God is very important. Because let me just tell you, sometimes those voices can get so confusing. If you're not intentional about staying filled up in the spiritual realm, it can get very confusing because it's so fickle. The process is so fickle. It's like 1 month, everything looked promising. And then the next month, it's like, Lord, where you at? Right? But if you're not careful, if you're not filled up in the spirit, then the enemy will start telling you in those months of delays, or it's like, God, where you at? The enemy will start putting certain things in your head. You made the wrong move. Right? It's not going to work out. God didn't tell you that. You went the wrong place. You need to go here instead, right? You start hearing all this stuff. Or God may be requiring you to pull away from a certain person because you may not be able to see it now, but it's something within this person's spirit that is going to come out later on if you're not careful. But God is convicting you now to pull away from this person, and you're feeling like, but they're not showing me anything that makes me feel like they can be a threat or harm to the promise. I don't understand. Well, but if there may be something that God knows, because you already know, listen, people can put a good front on for a while, and that first argument or that first disagreement, honey, you see a whole different person. So God may be protecting you from something. So if God is pressing upon you to leave a certain person behind, stop going back to that ex, no matter how lonely you are, no matter how tired you are waiting in this process, and all of a sudden these exes are starting to call and return the call, and you're in your head thinking like, well, I don't see nothing moving right now in the spiritual room. I can go ahead and hang back out with her, hang back out with him, for a couple of times, and just wait for God to get this journey moving along. So the enemy is literally putting all these things in your head, and you're falling for it. So what do? You pick up your phone and you text that ex out the blue. You text that ex. You ain't talked to that man in 5 years, and you text him, "Hey, I just wanted to see how you're doing. I don't need anything. Just wanted to say hey." Child, please. He will not text you back. She will not text you back. I'm telling you, because God already know along this journey that your flesh will get tired of waiting, and all these different voices will start talking to you. God already took all that into account. So God is not going to let that person respond. Or if he does, or if she does, the conviction will snatch your top head off. That's how powerful that conviction will be. Like, okay, yeah, they respond, but you better not respond back, right? And now you're holding your phone like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with come on, right? What seat are you operating from? You already know why you text that person. Just last month, you just knew without a doubt you was going forward and never looking back. Now, all of a sudden now, you want to text somebody and see how was their Christmas in this February. Whew, child. Or on the flip side, be very careful, because the enemy may also be pressing upon you to walk away from certain people, and those are the people that God needs you to stay connected to. Remember, the enemy is tricky. So there may be a person that God have already introduced you to, or will introduce you to, and now for some odd reason you're starting to look at the person's side eye. The person even did nothing to you, But then there's something playing up in your spirit, like, oh, they want something, or they ain't right because I don't know. I don't know. Something my spirit is telling me. I thought they were right, but they ain't right. And the whole time, that's the enemy trying to get you to literally walk away from a person who are destiny helpers, things like that. So again, this is why it's crucial to make space to hear from God, because you see how confusing voices can be. Sometimes it's the enemy, sometimes it's familiar spirits, sometimes it's your flesh, sometimes it's God. So you have to make intentional space by disciplining yourself and by keeping up firm boundaries until you hear clear from God. Once you hear clear from God, most likely, well, I can't say most likely, but I know for me, I'll say for me, He will start to direct you right on back to the things that you thought you have accomplished, or not even thought you've accomplished, things that you know was on the to-do list that He gave you throughout the process, and you just got tired of working on it because you just ain't see nothing moving. There's a good chance He's going to direct you right back to that list. Well, have you completed this? Have you even done this? No, you ain't even done this yet. But you've been harassing my nerves about what's taking me so long. You're the problem up over here. You're the problem. You're the problem, right? Go back and look at that vision board. Did you do half of the stuff on there? No, you want to skip it because you think you're ready, when half of the things that I'm asking you to do is a requirement. You're going to need it. If you don't do it, you're going to fumble the minute I open the door. So you're really the problem, Kizzy. Lastly, there have been, I'm not even like responding to emails right now because again, I'm in an intentional posture. But I remember someone emailed me, two people emailed me last week who are just tired of waiting on God to send them a spouse. Matter of fact, one was a guy, one is a female. They're just absolutely tired of waiting because it's just, I ain't got time for this. I'm bored. Even one of you guys said in the comment section last night, I think you said being a Christian is boring. I think that's what you said. I'm just I'm over it. Because it's like, I'm trying to do the right thing over here. Like I'm standing or I'm just waiting on what God promised me. And it just seemed like I'm just sitting here doing absolutely nothing. I mean, God, where are you? Where are you? Where are you, God? And then I actually responded in the comment section. And I said that, as we know, we all know this to be true. There's not a number of reasons on why God have not opened the door yet. There's numbers of reasons. Have you, again, as I said earlier, definitely with myself, have you completed everything that I asked you to do along the journey? All right. I think maybe I had about, might have been like 22 things on the list. Now, mind you, this is over a whole process of a journey, right? There's probably about 22 things on the list that I had to do. I may have done 15, right? And then when you first start working on it, like when you get all this energy, like you knock those things out back to back. But after a while, you just be like, you know what, right? So could it be like me that you still have things that you have to go back and work on? Could it be that, again, God needs to give you more insight because you think you know what you're getting yourself into, right? God may give you a person and you're thinking this person is going to come together just perfection incomplete. And there is no such thing, right? This person may need you to give them some grace, right? But you have this whole mindset that things are going to be a fairy tale. And that's not a good way to go into things, because when people start showing you who they are, when people starts peopling, you're going to want to walk away, right? But if God takes time to really help you understand that there are certain insights about whatever He's promised you, He'll start showing you things about the place. He'll start giving you downloads about certain struggles the person may have, right? He'll start showing you these things so you can already start preparing and receiving those things now. So it's almost like God will start to help you to what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say like help you start grieving it now, but that's not the word I'm looking for. I don't know. But he'll start giving you, the longer you wait, you will see, you will start getting new insight. You may not have even met the person yet, sis, right? You haven't met, I'm saying sis because that's who commented last night. You may have not even met the person yet. However, when God starts giving you certain insights, all of a sudden he's giving you insights about, I don't know, how to not trigger someone who may have had certain addictions. Meaning the person is over that, right? But for some reason out the blue, he's calling you to read up on certain things, right? Because he knows that, okay, the person he brings to you may have had some type of trauma or some type of issue, and at some point that person may have dealt with some type of addiction. Whatever addictions, there's thousands. But he will start to press upon you to start researching something so you can be sure that you know how to deal with this if that thing was to ever come up versus running. He may give you certain insights about this person is currently dealing with soul ties, dealing with narcs, dealing with demonic holds, could have a whole witch, could have a whole warlock, right, that they're dealing with. But you're trying to get there so quick, and what you're going to do, you want to get there and get yourself tied up in that nonsense, because spirits transfer. So God is over here trying to break some things up so he can make sure this thing is whole and healthy, etc., etc. Because remember, just because somebody loves God doesn't mean they're perfect. We still all got our stuff, right? Some more than others, but we all got our stuff. So God may still be working on the other side, and he have to hold it up because he knows if he release you too quick, you're not even strong enough because you don't even have the correct mindsets and insights to go there yet. If you go there now, this stuff is going to overpower you. The process is really about building your power, right? Building your power, building your confidence, things like that. Some of you who may not really know exactly who you are, and you're still struggling with seeing yourself the way God sees you. When you get there, this person is going to play with you all kind of way because you don't even know how to put up firm boundaries. You don't even know who you are, what you carry. You got to be so confident. Like, listen, I don't care if you're a billionaire. If you try me, I'm out, period, because I know what I carry. So your money ain't going to move me. Your status ain't going to move me. But you can't, if you go now, you will be sitting there volunteering for threesomes because you don't want anybody to leave you. All this nonsense. No. So God is probably still building you, building your self-esteem, building your confidence, all this stuff within the process. Also, really quickly, something's popped in my spirit because I was conversing with someone back with email, probably last month sometimes. Ladies, sorry guys, let me put this other phone. This other phone's still going off. Ladies, hear me and hear me well. Right. I can already hear some of you. Again, I'm a whole woman up over here. A whole woman, a grown woman. So when I speak about certain things, don't think that I'm siding with men. All right? I'm just not a biased person. God have just not made me that way. I've never been that way. I'm just a person who I can see things from different perspectives, regardless if I agree or don't agree with it. There's just something in me that I don't know. I really don't know. So with that being said, again, men are visual, right? Again, I'm never going to say all of anything because there's never one size fits all. There's always an exception to the rules. But for the most part, men are visual. So this mindset of he can take it or leave it, and you're absolutely right. And you're absolutely right. But when he chooses to leave it, then you can't hold him accountable for that. Men are visual. They're just wired that way. So if God has been pressing upon you that he needs you to get yourself together. What does together look like? I don't know. That's between you and God. But you know, or God knows, you may not be your best self. You're not feeling your best self. You're still struggling with self-esteem and confidence. Again, that core is knowing who you are in God and making sure that you are who you are, regardless of who accept it or think is right or whatever. But then on the outside, the physical things, if there are things that's bothering you, then God may have been pressing upon you to start taking care of yourself better. And that can look like learning to put yourself first, learning to keep these boundaries in place, because what happens is a lot of times when we're not putting ourselves first, it's because we are moving from a people pleaser seed and we are having everybody, all of their issues, all of their stuff on our back. We were conditioned, many of us were conditioned to do that, right? You're the strong black woman narrative, right? And now what's happening is flipped. Now you're being judged for being the strong black woman, right? But let me clarify really quickly. Don't ever, ever, ever apologize for being a strong black woman. Absolutely ever. Ever. Never. Right? Your strength is what sets you apart. However, we must get to a point where we understand and change our perspective on some things. Not all, some things. Stay who you are. But yes, we do have to be intentional, working towards and mastering how to shelf that in certain situations. Right? You're just not going to be out here just letting any man lead you. That's a very, very, very small percentage of men, but that's going to be the men who God sends to you. So if you're in a posture and you're waiting for your kingdom wife or your kingdom such and such, then the person that God sends to you is going to be the person that leads you, right? So you may have never had a man who have been a man, right? All caps man. So you've never experienced that. So now you have to really work on that with God, right? When you date God, you don't need a man in order to teach you how to date. If you date God for a while, for a season, right, you will submit to God. You're going to have to submit to God. You're going to submit to God. God's going to tell you when to shut your mouth. God is going to tell you when. Date God for a season, right? Don't let it be an excuse that you've never met or dated like a man who is like a manly man, a masculine man who can really lead properly, right? Date God for a season. God will teach you. God will teach you. Even if you never had that father, God will teach you. But are you even submitting to God? Because if God is requiring certain things of you now and you're still rejecting it, why in the world would he send you a whole husband? It makes absolutely no sense. So he's trying to practice with you now. But you're kicking and screaming to get out because you think you're ready. You're going to ruin it. You're going to ruin it. So God opens the door 6 months later because you have not been prepared, right? So again, never, ever, 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 ever regret being a strong woman. I wear that badge proudly. However, I know when to submit under certain authority. Whoever God sends to you, I don't care if it's going to be your husband, your wife. Well, no, men do have to submit to their wives in certain ways, right? But whoever that is, right? God may be testing you now on your job. You have a whole boss that you constantly disrespect. You're constantly just clapping back at you. Won't even be quiet. If you can't submit to authority, how in the world are you going to be ready to submit to whatever God is bringing you? So it's funny and it's strategic how God works. God will literally have the very thing you're dealing with in your everyday life right now. God will test you and watch you through that. Somebody just got a conviction. Who been popping off at their boss? Let me know in the comment section because I felt it. If God has been pressing upon you about the physical things, your skincare routines, right? Your skincare routines, your hair care routines. Like, listen, ladies, I don't think a lot of men know this. Some men know this, but for the most part, many women have very long hair. Like my hair is very long, and then I have like that good hair, like that wavy hair when it's wet. So, in saying that, my brothers, please understand that just because a woman have a sew-in Or if she wear wigs that her hair is not long. Most times that's why her hair is absolutely long, because she's not messing with it too much under it. But to my ladies, to those of you who are not taking care of your hair under your sewings, things like that, and most times it's because we are, again, putting ourselves last and taking care of the whole world because we're the strong black woman. You may feel God pressing upon you to start taking care of your hair, meaning leave in conditioning under your sewings, under your wigs, right? Leave in conditioning. Just rub it all over your hair, right? Oils, different oils. Ask God. God will teach you and God will show you. But the point is, there's things that God's going to be pressing up. And some of you already got this on lock. But then there's certain of your sisters who truly, truly are struggling in the physical area because they have been taught to put themselves last, right? So your skincare routines, again, invest in a great dermatology if you have like acne skin and things like that. Chemical peels from sunburns and discoloration and hyperpigmentation. Is that how you say it? Right. Chemical peels, things like that. Skincare, hair care. Eating more healthy, right? Eating more healthy. Listen. Again, as you guys can see, right? Ain't no size 2. Let me keep it real. Never wanted to be a size 2. We're good up over here. Let me just tell you, right? But you size 2 chicks, do your thing, sis. Seriously. You are the stuff at a size 2, and you are the stuff at a size 22. It's all about being your best self. Don't let society sit here and tell you that all men want a size 22, right? There are many men who love 2, 3, 4X women. Seriously. The question are you okay with being 300 pounds? If you really feel like you're at your best self and you honestly feel comfortable and things like that, you will attract the man who is for you. Every man don't want slim. I've had a guy told me one time I wasn't thick enough. Well, sir, I thought I was a whole cornbread, lima beans, pigtails, neck bones up over here, but I wasn't thick enough, honey. So don't let people tell you, right, that every man wants a size 2. Some men do. Some don't. But it's about making sure you feel your best self. If you cannot afford a gym membership, right, create some type of workout space within the extra bedroom in your house or in your back porch or whatever. Get strategic. Because the enemy will try to make you think like, well, you don't have money, you can't do this, you can't do this. Get strategic. If anything God calls you to, God will provide for it. You mess around and walk somewhere in somebody's consignment store and find a whole weight bench set, whatever, right? God will start aligning things for you when he starts to call you to it. Your job is to walk into it. Your job is to pay attention to it, right? He's not going to come bring it to your front door. But start working out, start eating healthy. Again, a lot of the things that we've been taught, and that's not to say you won't miss it, right? Because I went a whole 6 months, honey. I was having too much fun for 6 months, but I got convicted, about 2 months ago, and I'm back on eating clean, right? Eating healthy. Eating clean looks like a number of things. Google it for yourself. It doesn't always mean dieting. In fact, to be honest, dieting is really not the best thing because you will put the weight back on. It's about making sure you are in tune to what ingredients you are using, walking away from all that sugar, all them sodas, all that. You still putting a 5-pound bag of sugar inside the 1 pitcher of Kool-Aid. Please get that. Listen. But at the same time, sugar is addictive, just like drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and any other addictive things, right? So wean yourself from it. So next time, don't put 5 pounds of sugar. Do 3 pounds. And then the next time you make it, do 2 pounds. And you get down to 1. So you're not going from this whole sugar attack to absolutely 0. How long would you stick with that? You won't even stick with it. So it's about weaning yourself from unhealthy habits. Sadly, again, many times we don't even know what unhealthy habits are. So just Google clean eating. I like to do I can never say this word, I don't know, fasting, right? So there's some times I went like 5 months. Actually, I just stopped last month. I go like 5 months and I will only eat 6 hours throughout the day, and then, et cetera, et cetera. But whatever works for you. Ask God. He will show you what works for you, because what works for someone else may not work for another. For example, I had one of my good sis ask me about eating routine in regards to something. I guess you're going to hear a pause, but I'm going to start another video right back. Okay, guys, thank you for that pause. For some reason with the recording, once the video goes over a certain period of time, it cuts it off. So I wanted to be sure that I can break it up. But I had a good sis who asked me in regards to clean eating, or eating habits, I should say. So I was telling her, well, your goals are going to be different. Just depends on what you want. Like me, okay, I don't want to lose a whole lot of weight, right? I'm good with being thick, but I want to be toned. I want to be solid. So then that requires me to eat a certain way. That requires me to eat oatmeal. That requires me to eat sometimes 5 times a day. That requires me to eat eggs, and I ain't got time for eggs like that, but I got to eat eggs, right? I got to eat a lot of white meat chicken. I can't be putting all that sauce and all the stuff like that on the chicken. So I use, of course, onions, peppers, all that things to season the chicken. And I actually have to eat rice, but jasmine rice, right? Because my goal is to continue to build muscle. Well, when you're losing, that rice completely should be out, I think. I'm not sure. But just make sure you're Googling for your goal, right? If you're like me, again, you're good with being thick, but you want to be sure you're tight and you're toned with your thickness, versus if you want to lose weight, then you want to Google, how do you lose weight, right? How do you keep it off? So do your own research, but most importantly, ask God. He will show you. He will teach you, because men are visual. Period. So we have to invest in certain things. You have to invest in facials and massage. You have to invest in yourself. I wanted to share that. This second part is going to be a few minutes. I just wanted to share that because, again, I think we have to be realistic with ourselves, because, again, not only are men are visual, where God is taking some of you, you're going to have to be your most confident self. You're going to have to feel good. When you feel good, then you can receive whatever God is bringing to you. You can receive it in a certain way. If not, you're going to be sitting here blaming people, and you're looking at this person, and who is this person? You're not going to feel good within yourself. So then in turn, you're going to ruin what it is that God has sent for you, right? The same way that women can have a list, right? They want a man who's X, Y, and Z, blase, 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 blase. Well, some men have certain lists as well. Many men have certain lists as well. And you can believe that somewhere in that list, if they happen to have a list, the way you really carry and take care of yourself is going to be somewhere to the top. Men are just visual like that. We're not, women are, we're not out here blind, right? We like what we like too, but looks are not probably always to the very, very top, right? If you're attracted to the person, then it is what it is, but not these certain requirements when it comes down to every little thing about looks. Men just like what they like, and that's okay. That's okay. So we have to be sure, again, that we are in tune with taking care of ourselves. When you go wherever God is taking you, whatever you're waiting on, the things that you've done in the past, a lot of that stuff will not continue. Again, this is why, again, the process is taking so long. You may have a family where you may have been the oldest child, and everybody depended on you in childhood because maybe your parents worked 2 and 3 jobs, whatever. So you got 5 siblings, and they all depended on you because you were the oldest one in childhood. Okay, so now you may be 75 years old, and these 5 siblings are still depending on you for every single thing, right? Of course, you want to look out for your people. There's nothing wrong with that, absolutely at all. But I'm speaking about depending on you because you've handicapped them, and it's just your default setting is all you've known, right? Honestly, you should never even been put in that predicament. But listen, it's survivor mode. But it has conditioned you to not only be there and take care of all of your siblings, you do it for everybody around you. Well, do you know how much problems that will cause in a marriage? You can easily now go into your bank account and just shell out money for your brother who's 62 years old, his child support, right? You can't do... So this is why you realize God is starting to really shape and mold you and transform you within this process. But again, when you're fighting against it because you just want what you want, you're missing what he's trying to do. He is trying to teach you certain things about what you're going to need when you get there. There's going to be a lot of discipline that happens within the process that will be required to where you're going. It's not your fault because maybe no one ever taught you. That's why God is being gentle in trying to teach you. You said you're tired of these dead-end relationships. You're tired of things not working out. Okay, so now he's about to give you something that's going to work out, but you have to be prepared for that thing. Men and women. Sir, we're not sleeping up on no twin-size bed. Get us a California king. I hope this helps someone. You guys have a great one. Have a great weekend. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.